In the know.
Good evening, everyone.
In the know.
Tony Reeves, fire. Following the news in any way, shape, or form. No shortage of things to talk about. What does it mean? What will it bring? This is a reality we simply have to accept. Tony Reeves, fire. Tony Reeves. Let's go ahead and get started.
Good day, good morning, and glad to be with you. I am Tony Reeves, and welcome to another edition of In the Know. And I want to talk to you a little bit about determining how your careers are changing. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by is, if you're in that position where you're changing careers on a regular basis, you need to ask yourself this question. Are you doing it selectively, or is it happening organically? And you're probably sitting here wondering, what do I mean by that? Well, let's take a step back and say for this, and I want to use myself as a reference point. I've been working actively full-time for about 32 years. I started working when I was 22, about a year after college, and I am 55 now. So I'm going to say, I say 32, but let's say 33 years. And so you have to ask yourself the question, in the course of that 33 years, how many times have I changed careers? Now, you could say jobs, career, whatever the case may be. Over the course of that particular point in time, I have actively worked about 29 of those years, 28 of those years. There was a period where there were gaps and so forth. I went back to school for about a period of time, so that kind of shaves it off. But for working purposes, let's kind of drill it down and say that I've probably worked about 29 of those 32 going on 33 years. Of those 29, I have changed careers or jobs 5 times. If you take the time that I worked, I averaged about 5 years and 9 months at each job, where my longest job, which is when I was running my own law firm, was 9 years and about 6 months. And I'm currently working on my next job, working my federal job now, where I've been here 7 years, going on 7.5 years now. And so when you look at that, a lot of times when we look at person's resumes, and trust me, if you go to LinkedIn or any of those, you're going to see people, they've changed careers on a regular basis. I don't think anybody loses sleep when you change careers and so forth. But sometimes what happens when you look at people and they do it for a finite period of time, you start asking the question, they're changing careers. Answer yourself, what are the reasons why you're changing those careers? And I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to ask you, looking at those careers, ask yourself this question. Are you changing jobs or careers organically or selectively? Now, for those of you who are wondering, what do you mean by organic or selective? Isn't a change almost always selective? That's not what I mean. I'm going to give you my definition of what I mean. And let's start with the selectivity point. When I say somebody is selectively changing their careers or selectively changing their jobs, what I'm effectively saying is that for whatever reason you've decided that whatever job that you're in doesn't satisfy you. So you have made the conscious choice that you're going to go try to find something else. You're not making the decision because you're trying to build upon what you've been doing. You're not doing this because you see a greater opportunity. You're just doing this because you have decided that for whatever reason, the job that you're currently working or the career field just no longer serves your interest. And so as a result, you change careers or you change jobs. From a positive standpoint, that is an awesome thing to be in because that means you're trying to take control of your fate and your destiny in terms of what you want to do. The downside is that if it's not happening as part of a strategic plan or strategic initiative or goals that you want to build upon, then what ends up happening is you've effectively fallen into the pattern where you're basically changing jobs solely for the purpose of changing jobs with no end goal or end game in sight. In other words, you're not building on anything because you're basically going from point A to point B. And you can tell when you look at resumes how that looks, because a lot of times what happens is that when you look at what the person was doing before and then they look at what they're doing next, it does not always give you the understanding of what the methodology was for why you did that. In other words, you're saying, why the hell did you switch from this to this? Because it doesn't seem to flow logically. Now, let's just be clear. If this is something that you are desirous of doing, then it doesn't matter if it does not logically flow for anybody else. If you've decided that you're in a job or career you don't like and you want to do something else, then by all means, switch up. You are well within your rights to do so. But I'm going to tell you that if you don't have a reason for why you're doing it, other than it just feels like doing something else, then I'm going to say you're probably selectively changing your careers. Then I go to the other one, which is what I call organically. Well, what does organic mean? Organic is basically you are building on what you're doing. And you're like, well, what is that? Well, what do you mean by that? Effectively, what I mean is that you're changing your career because it is in line with you either one, upwardly moving to a different position or status, or two, it's moving you in a direction consistent with your goals and your intent. In other words, you're consciously trying to put yourself in a better position, or two, you have a goal of something that you're trying to do and you're trying to get yourself there. So if you ask you, well, how did that play out in your situation? Mine was probably more organic because when I got my first job, while getting my first job, I went to graduate school. And then what ended up happening was I had the opportunity to go to the Navy. Now, when I went into the Navy, that was an organic job change and career change for me. Well, why? Well, I went from where I was working for the state to basically making about $15,000, $20,000 more the moment I made the transition into the military. When I decided to get out of the military and go to law school, the moment I got out of law school and started my first job, that first job paid me more than what I was making when I was in the military. I took a hit when I went and opened up my own law firm. But the reality is that creating my own law firm, I was able to put myself in a position to expand my skill sets. I was able to do other areas of law. I was able to explore other marketing opportunities and opportunities to build on my brand. And so then when that opportunity opened the gateway for me to get appointed to the bench, it's because I had now the steps through working for a law firm and then going on my own gave me the opportunity to then propel myself into a position of sitting on the bench. All of these things in my mind, and the way I would describe it to you, happened organically, meaning it wasn't that I was looking to change. It wasn't even that I wanted to change, because quite frankly, every job that I have had, and I've told people, because people have often asked me, have you ever had a job in your professional life that you didn't like? And I said, no. Every job I've had, I enjoyed. Now, don't get me wrong, I had challenges at different jobs with various supervisors at different points of my career, which may have made my working environment a bit challenging, but I was never in a job that I hated. There was never a job that I was in that was like so loathsome that I dreaded getting up and going to work in the morning and so forth, because I just couldn't deal with the people and the issues and everything that was going on. But I can confidently say that every job that I took after that first job was a job that elevated me in a manner going forward. So at each step along the way, working for the state, being an officer, being an associate for a law firm, running my own law firm, and then eventually sitting on the bench, at each point, I elevated myself organically. So why am I telling you this? Well, I'm sharing this with you because let me just be clear about a lot of times. Because a lot of times when when we look on LinkedIn and we see all these people or various, especially LinkedIn, and you're looking at people's bios, sometimes you can look and you can say to yourself, I can tell from looking at their resume and their work background that everything they were doing looked organic because it was building towards something bigger and better for what they were doing. But sometimes on its face, it doesn't necessarily look that clear. Sometimes on its face, when you're looking at it, you can't automatically tell that that's what happened. Again, if you are choosing to leave your job because you have made the decision you no longer wish to be gainfully employed with them, and you're just going to go find whatever you can, whether it be a lateral move or something that's completely different, that is completely okay. But I want you to understand this. You only have a finite amount of time and years to actually work. And if you want to work from the age of 22 to the age of 82, you are well within your rights to do so. But if you know that you'd like to stop at a particular point in your time so that you can enjoy the remaining part of your years, or not even remaining, just the part of your life that you just want to do other things other than have to report into someone on a regular basis. Ask yourself when you're making these career changes, are these changes helping propel you towards a position, plateau, or a socioeconomic status that is higher than where you are currently? Again, I am not telling you that you should be looking for the job for the almighty dollar. What I'm saying is that you should be looking for the job that effectively puts you in a better position, both socioeconomically, personally, professionally, than you were before, and that you're building on that as a whole. I'm always a big fan of people selectively deciding what direction they should go. But if I could encourage individuals, I would tell them, take advantage of, if you have the opportunity, because I know not everybody is similarly situated, to take the opportunity to organically make these changes. So whether it be you work for a company for a year, a couple of years, or 10 years, you want to make sure that every move you make when you decide to pivot is one that builds on what you've gained from your last move, and more importantly, builds towards a life that you would like to create for yourself and will be beneficial for you and all the people in your life that are close to you. All right, everyone. Again, thank you for tuning in to another edition. You can always check me out on all of my social media platforms at My Name is Reeves. And if you go to anthonyreeves.com, you can find me in terms of everywhere. And if you have various listening platforms, Pandora, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you can check me out on all those devices as well. Thanks for tuning in again. And as always, I want to start my day and end my day with my favorite question. Are you ready for the Anthony Reeves experience?